Folks, I believe that our free speech in this country is seriously under threat. And once we lose freedom of speech and freedom of self-expression, we are through. Because without free speech, you can have no other freedoms. A new video of a talk by Australia's so-called eSafety chief, our online censorship czar, Julie Inman Grant, is circulating on social media, revealing what many believe is an inappropriate anti-conservative political bias. It sparked fresh calls for her to be removed from the role and for the eSafety Commission to be abolished. Those calls have come not from the Liberal National Party, but from One Nation, a political party that's sounding more and more sane these days than the rest. Julie Inman Grant was headlining at a Royal Society of New South Wales dinner last Thursday night at Government House in Sydney. And this is just some of what she said.
During his presidency, Donald Trump not only savagely abused foes online with impunity, but was identified as a major superspreader of mis and disinformation. However, his online audience was so sizable and his content went so viral that none of the major platforms suspended him for repeated policy violations, making excuses for vaguely worded exceptions for public figures.
So let's get this straight. She's saying that Donald Trump was guilty of circulating misinformation and disinformation. I get the feeling that a lot of what she defines as mis and disinformation is just her political opinion. And that alone should scare the pants off us. But let's give her the benefit of the doubt. Let's say that Donald Trump was tweeting misinformation every single day. Who then is going to police that, and how exactly? And why? I mean, if the guy is lying every single day, can't we as adults all make up our own minds? No, not according to the meddling eKARENS we can't. We aren't smart enough. We need them to enforce truth for us. And the fact that Julie Inman Grant, not for 1 second, sees that it could be a problem with that, maybe, is in and of itself probably all you need to know about why she should be removed and why this commission that's wasting our taxpayer money needs to be shut down yesterday. And as I wrote for The Spectator this week, I think Peter Dutton needs to step up and provide some real opposition now and say so out loud. This commission that Turnbull set up to protect children online, originally as the Children's eSafety Commission, has now morphed into a politically biased monster that seriously threatens our democratic principle of free speech. Let's closely analyse just one small sentence from that short clip I just played you. Listen closely to the language she's using.
During his presidency, Donald Trump not only savagely abused foes online with impunity, but was identified as a major superspreader of mis and disinformation.
Okay, let's look at the language. Savagely abused. According to who? With impunity. How do you know that? How do you know his mindset is that he could never be punished? You're reading his mind now? Super spreader. Again, according to who was he a super spreader? And why are you using virus metaphors to describe the tweets of a US president? And then, granddaddy of them all, the phrase mis and disinformation. Who defines misinformation? And therein lies the $64 million question at the heart of any sensible, honest, half-informed debate on censorship. It's a point that is glaringly omitted from the eSafety Commissioner's speech. And it's these omissions, what she isn't saying, that I find most troubling. And they get even worse. You see, there appears to be, at least in my opinion, and noting its complete absence from this speech, zero similar concern expressed about the media and tech giants' collective suppression of the Hunter Biden laptop story prior to the 2020 presidential election. A decision that without doubt influenced the election outcome and which was an affront to the core democratic principle of a free press. Explicit statements that a laptop is a fake when it is not a fake do not fall under the umbrella of misinformation, it seems, because it's never brought up as an example by people like Julie Inman Grant. So let's put aside the eSafety Commissioner's troubling lack of awareness of the need for radical political neutrality in her role. Let's also briefly put aside that she rarely ever speaks about the need to protect freedom of speech and freedom of expression from overzealous censors. What's most concerning is that the Commissioner seems to be oblivious to the idea that the light of truth might eventually win out, that by permitting conspiracy theory nuts on all sides of politics to thrash it out online uncensored, that their foolishness will become self-evident to all. We've had a taste of this in the zero logic of some of the more extreme Trump assassination attempt conspiracy theories that we've seen from both the fringe left and the fringe right in this past week. This is not a perfect idea, of course, by any means, that you can just let it all rip and everybody will be fine or everything will be fine. There is a very strong pro-censorship argument that dates back to the time of Plato and Socrates that fools need the wise philosopher kings to guide their thinking. But in liberal representative democracies, we're supposed to be fully aware of the risks of appointing philosopher kings to gatekeep information. And we should be very, very slow to push that censorship button. The Commissioner began her Thursday night speech with ample career self-promotion, establishing her connections with Microsoft in its earliest days, the WEF and its annual Davos meetings, her attendance at which nowadays is funded by Australian taxpayers, and her presence at the embryonic stage of tech development in Silicon Valley at the end of the 1990s.
I know this time well, having worked at what I call Tech Policy Ground Zero in 1996 as a young lobbyist in another significant W, Washington, D.C. Of course, being the 1990s, I had big ideals, big shoulder pads, and even bigger hair, and eventually found myself working for an unassuming guy named Bill at a little software company called Microsoft.
Oh, shucks. I'm sure she's not in any way overstating her involvement and influence back in those days. She then went on to rightly outline the threats presented by misinformation and disinformation and the power of artificial intelligence. And this is where the real threat to free speech lies from bureaucrats and government bureaucracies. You see, their diagnosis of the problem is spot on. It's their solutions that are terrifying. I mean, who could disagree about the risk to our kids from dopamine-driven algorithms and cyberbullying? Or that algorithms prefer the more extreme political commentators over sensible centrists and lock people into unhealthy echo chambers of gradually increasing extremism. Censors can present themselves as angelic white knights, saving the little children from harm, rather than devilish manipulators of a healthy democracy. These problems aren't new, of course. It was the same in the newspaper age, the talk radio age, and the cable news era, long before the advent of Twitter and TikTok. And governments love to control media, and they have historically censored politically in the name of keeping us all safe for centuries. So we need to watch out. And it's a massive red flag when the censorship chief never speaks about protecting free speech or even hints at the need to be scrupulously politically neutral. So this is a political battle. Internet and social media censorship AI tools could forever be deeply encoded with the biases of those who sit on the political left, with the woke mind virus infecting AI, as Elon Musk said in his chat with Jordan Peterson this week. The existence of the eSafety Commission, just like the existence of the ABC, supports the left. So Labor would never do anything about it. Why would they? This is all great for them. Therefore, it's absolutely essential that Peter Dutton immediately, loudly, and clearly stands up against this trend to greater big government online censorship. It's crazy enough sitting by while your political opponents fund a state radio, TV, and online content propaganda network called the ABC to push their own woke ideology to the tune of $1.2 billion without so much as a peep of protest. But it's completely suicidal, my Liberal Party friends, to allow the Marxists to also dominate all the new commercial channels of information flow via nice-sounding political censorship to keep the kiddies safe online. The threat to our public political conversation and free expression posed by the eSafety cohort may be real, serious and scary, but the threat to the centre-right of politics and to the Liberal Party It's existential. Hope you enjoyed that clip. The Other Side is your weekly analysis of the media's best news and commentary without the woke, and we need your support. Please make sure you subscribe to our channel on YouTube and follow us on X at The Other Side on X. It's all totally free to do that, but we could always do with your financial support too. So if you'd like to make a donation, click the Super Thanks button on YouTube with a little $ and thanks on it right under the video frame below. Even a $2 donation will really help us. And if you're watching on YouTube, do check out the full episode that this clip came from right here.